Hello, today we are going to talk about sentence types in English. But before we go, let's talk about the parts of a sentence. The sentence has two main parts, which are the subject and the predicate. The subject is what or whom the sentence is about, and the predicate is something said about the subject. Then, in English, we have four types of sentences, which are simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and compound complex sentences. So, let's get started. A simple sentence contains a subject and a verb, but it may also have an object and other modifiers. However, it only has one independent clause. Let's see one example of this type of sentence. Michael has a house in New York. As we can see here, Michael is the subject, has is the verb, and we have a complement that is a house, which is the direct object, and in New York, which is the prepositional phrase. A compound sentence contains at least two independent clauses, which are combined with a comma, a semicolon, or a coordinating conjunction. Let's see one example. Mary is washing the dishes. Also, she will iron her clothes. As we can see, we have an independent clause here, which is Mary is washing the dishes, and another independent clause, which is she will iron her clothes. These two independent clauses are joined by these three elements we were talking about: a semicolon, a coordinated conjunction, and a comma. These independent clauses can stand alone and have complete sense. A complex sentence contains at least one dependent clause and one independent clause. This dependent clause doesn't have sense if you put it in isolation, so because of that depends on the other one. Let's see one example. Even though he gave his girlfriend a bunch of flowers, she didn't forgive him. In this sentence, the dependent clause is even though he gave his girlfriend a bunch of flowers, and the independent clause is she didn't forgive him. If a complex sentence begins with a dependent clause, then we must write comma after this clause. But if, on the other hand, the sentence begins with the independent clause, there is no comma needed to divide them. In order to get higher grades, they studied a lot. In this case, the dependent clause comes before. In order to get higher grades, then we add comma. The independent clause comes later. They studied a lot. They studied a lot in order to get higher grades. In this case, there is no comma because the independent clause comes before the dependent one. Finally, we have compound complex sentences. This sentence contains at least two independent clauses and one dependent clause. Let's see one example. Joe doesn't like pepper because it is too spicy, so he doesn't eat it. As we can see here, Joe, he doesn't like pepper is the first independent clause. Then, because it is too spicy, is the clause depending on Joe doesn't like pepper. Then, as the second independent clause, we have so he doesn't eat it. So, these are the four types of sentence in English. It will be necessary to learn how to use them to improve our writing and speaking and to make it more interesting. So, this is all for today. Thanks for watching.